Today on Thrive Smarter, I'm going to cover a few workflows that'll help you both harness AI and generate content that sounds both original and like your brand. My name is Cree, host of Thrive Smarter and founder of Thrive's Solopreneur Collective. This is where we start the conversation, and at the end of this episode, I invite you to join us over in the community where we'll keep the conversation going. Let's get ready to thrive. If you're like me, you've been scrolling on social media and you'll see a post that sounds something like this. If you would like to 10 times your content output, use these 5 proven prompts. And then you can go and copy and paste the prompts that said person has shared on social media. And you can do that in any tool, Claude or ChatGPT or whatever AI tool you use in your business. And what will generally happen if you do this is you're going to get a response that's very similar to everybody out there who is also seeing that social media post. They've copy and pasted that prompt into their AI tool and they're going to get a response. So what's happening here is you are providing a prompt without any context about you, your business, your brand, any information about yourself, your tone, those types of things, something that you really want to educate your AI tool on before you put in a prompt like anyone that you'll see online. So if you just copy and paste a prompt, what's going to happen is the AI tool is going to search the web and it's going to generate a response based on a website search. So anybody else who uses that prompt is more than likely going to get the same or a very similar output. So if you're asking it to write an SEO optimized blog post about said topic, well, if somebody else uses that same topic in the prompt, well, you're going to get a blog post that looks just like theirs because these tools are searching, they're using the same parameters to search the web. So in order to avoid this, first, what you want to do is educate whatever tool you're using about yourself. If you go into ChatGPT or if you go into Claude, for example, you can create projects. And then what you can do from there is you can upload files, information, and any information about your brand colors, your tone, what your business is about. If you are wanting to talk about a certain product or service, you want to upload that information. And chances are you probably already have this info if you have a website. You have an about page. If you sell products or services, you probably have descriptions for those products and or services. So that's the type of information that you actually want to feed into your tools. So that way, when you use these generic prompts, it's going to not only look at the information that you provide, but it's also going to integrate a web search. So this is where your content is going to start to sound more like you and your brand. So that's the first step that you want to do, and it's really the easiest way to do this. If you are using Claude or ChatGPT, for example, and you create a project, both of those tools right now will have an area where you can upload information. So take some time to upload all that information, and then when you copy and paste those prompts into your tool, you want to also instruct or include in your prompt instructions for using or prioritizing information about your business, your tone, your brand identity. Prioritize those items in conjunction with a website search to create an output. So this is the first way that you can start to generate content that's going to sound a little bit more like you. And then what you want to do, and this is a rule of thumb that I'm going to say often and you're going to hear often, is don't ever let AI have the final say. So you're going to put that prompt in, you're going to get an outcome, and this saves a ton of time already. You have a draft write-up to work with, whether it's a blog post or maybe it's content for your website, maybe it's social media posts. So you'll want to make changes to that content, make it sound more like you. And then typically what people do is they'll just post that and forget about it. But what I want you to do is take an extra step and upload those final versions back into your tool. If you post it to a blog post, you can share the URL to that blog post and ask the tool to read it. And what you're trying to do is train the tool on your tone and on your brand identity. And the more you share with the tool, the more it's going to learn how you write things, what your voice sounds like. So this is the first step. This is going to take some time. And Claude and ChatGPT both have settings in them to either turn off or on history. And what that means is if you turn history on, the tool will automatically look at the history of that said project, of what you've worked on in the past that's related to the brand or the product or service that you're wanting to write about, and it's going to remember it. So you want to turn your history on, in my opinion, because you're training the tool to sound more like you. And over time, it's going to get closer and closer to the end result. So the goal here is to eventually get to a point where you can feed the tool a prompt and it's going to get very close to a final draft. So the amount of time you take on reviewing and making any changes to the final draft is going to decrease over time. So that's kind of where we're going with all of this. So this is step number 1 for starting to generate content that sounds more and more like you using AI tools. I love to use AI tools as a grammar checker, a spell checker. I want to make sure that the flow sounds great in whatever it is that I'm writing or saying. And these are the types of things that I include in my prompts. And, I encourage you to experiment and figure out the prompt that is going to generate the best outcome for you. So this is just one way. I'm going to go over a couple of other ways to generate original sounding content. And before I get into that, I just want to talk about why I created this community. So I've been a solopreneur for over 10 years now. And during this wild adventure, I always wish that there was a place where I could go, not only just to connect with other people, but also as a place where I can ask others about ideas I might have about my business, or maybe somebody else is doing something a little better than I'm doing and I can learn from them. And for all those reasons, that's why I have created the Thrive community. So I invite you to head on over to community.thrivesoloco.com. There's a couple of different ways to get involved. There's a free way, and that's just to sign up as a subscriber. You'll receive newsletters and updates about all of the topics that I'm discussing here on Thrive Smarter. And then also, I'll be creating some how-to videos very soon. And then if you want to get involved in the conversation and be more active in the community, you can do so by signing up as a member. And by doing so, you can interact in comments on all of the posts that I post in the community. You can ask questions and I will answer questions there. And then I also host a monthly virtual meetup, which is called Thrive Live. And as a member, you will have access to join us during those sessions. So head on over to community.thrivesoloco.com and let's carry on this conversation over there. Imagine yourself stepping into a very cold swimming pool or lake or body of water. What do? You tiptoe in gently. Very few of us will just run and jump right in. And when it comes to utilizing AI tools to generate original content, the tiptoe approach is really what I suggest. So start with what I already covered earlier on in this episode by training the AI tools that you're using more about your tone, your voice, and start to get closer to the outcome you're looking for. There's a couple of other things that I do to generate original content, and you are probably one of these. You are a writer, so you like to sit down and maybe journal or write or brainstorm, or maybe you're a seasoned writer and you're very good at articulating whatever it is that you want to communicate. I am not that person, but I'm sure somebody who's tuning in is. Another type of person is maybe you have an idea and you're on a walk or you're cleaning your house or something like that, and an idea springs up and you don't really want to stop to write it down, but what you can do is you can open the voice memo app on your phone, and regardless of what phone you have, you can open up and record your thoughts. Other people are list people where you can open up your phone and just jot down your thoughts. So these are like quick notes. So you can do it either audio or you can just jot the information down. And then the third, and is actually a method that I really enjoy because it gives me a lot of content for my business, is to turn on a camera like this one and create a video, create a long form video. And it could be for YouTube, it could be for Facebook, it could be for Instagram. These could be shorter videos as well. But I know in my business and in most businesses, we're all using video now. But what you're doing in any of these approaches is writing, sharing something via voice or audio only, or you're turning on a camera and you're speaking into a camera about what your thoughts are. Now, whatever method you prefer, what you can do is based on whatever you record, you can actually take the audio version of those items. And if you are a Mac user, you can upload that audio into Apple Notes app and it'll transcribe it for you. So this is something that's new out of Apple Notes that I just recently discovered. Unfortunately, you can't upload it from your phone, but you can using the desktop application. All you want to do is just add the audio file as an attachment, and it's going to transcribe directly in Notes. If you are a writer, you already have something written. If you only recorded using audio, you have that audio file that you can upload into Notes and and it'll transcribe it for you. And if you're a list person, well, that's just a form of writing. Now, what you can do with this content is once you have that body of work, this is when you utilize AI. So you can upload that content to AI and you can ask it to do whatever it is that you want to do. Write a blog post, write a description, maybe for your YouTube channel video, write social media posts. And then I always recommend that if you ask AI to create social media posts, that you let it know what platforms you're going to post to so that it can determine the length of the content. I also like to incorporate a call to action into my prompts when I'm creating social media posts. And then what you're going to get is an outcome that's going to sound very close to your input. And the input was generated by you. It's original content. It's your original ideas. You're uploading that and sharing it to your AI tool. It's taking that tone, that transcript, and that viewpoint, and it's creating posts, or it's creating an outcome based on whatever it is that you are sharing with the tools. So this is a great way to get very, very close to that end result that we're looking for. And again, you're still going to keep your history on to sound more like your brand, using your tone and all of those types of things. And then, just like I recommended before, never let AI have the final say. You do want to review everything before you post it. And then don't forget that final step is to upload those final drafts back into your AI tool so that it knows the changes that you made and the adjustments that you made in tone and how you're really speaking about yourself or your brand, and it's going to get closer and closer to the result. So this is the easiest way to create original sounding content, but also utilizing AI to streamline your workflows and your process. This still does take some time to generate all of this type of content, but the more you do it, the more efficient you're going to be in your workflows and your processes. And at the end of the day, you really want things sounding more like you. Now, if you're not an Apple user, or if you don't like using Apple Notes, there are other tools out there. I'm going to start doing some how-to videos. Descript is one tool, and I'll place a link to that tool down in the description. It transcribes, it helps you edit, and it does a number of other things that'll help you in your business. If you have a podcast or if you are creating videos for YouTube, it's a fantastic tool to use to help you edit. And then there's also a video editing tool that I really like to use. It's called Gling. Both of them save you a ton of time. Expect how-to videos about both of those tools in future episodes. They will be how-to videos that I'm going to place on the YouTube channel, so keep an eye out for those. But in the meantime, you are now armed with information for creating content that sounds as close to you and your voice as possible. So go out there and start experimenting, and then join me over at community.thrivesoloco.com, and let's talk about your findings in more detail over there. So thanks as always for tuning in. Wishing you the best with your business, and I'll see you again in the next episode.